see Hinduism, etc., Judaism, you'll see that the fundamentals of teaching how to love God or serve God are very similar. Very similar. So if all these different types of people can get a foundation of how to realize God, their tactics may be different, but strategically speaking, they're pretty much similar. That means it might be the right direction. We're going to explore that a little bit too. So, who are you? What do you want to do? You are not this body, but an eternal, indestructible spirit soul. We talked about that, right? You must define who you are first, otherwise you'll build a success formula based on a false pretense. Makes sense, right? Okay? This also takes into account, Girish, your material body too. You're a spirit soul in a material body. And the material body that you have, without getting too deep into it, is a reflection of your past desires and your past lives. So you got this body just like this to enjoy and suffer in this world based on what you wanted to do in your previous lives. So you got to take that into account too. So your spirit soul within this body is key. Because within this body is going to help you figure out what are you good at. Okay? With me? So right now in your minds, I want you to start thinking these things through a little bit. Right? You know yourself better than anything. And if you guys have gone through the undergrad process, undergrad is really about finding out who you really are, right? So you guys are all, most of you guys are all postgraduate, and so you've got a good idea of who you guys are, right? Materially speaking. Spiritually, theoretically, we know what we are. We're a spirit soul. We may not know what that means, so we're going to align it together, okay? To be truly happy, we must first realize who we are in the deepest spiritual sense and then act accordance with knowledge. Simple stuff, guys. All right? Once we know where we want to go, we can go. Cool? And in order, come on in. And in order to know where we want to go, it starts with who we are, because that's truly what's going to make us happy. Okay? Once you answer these questions for yourself, you reroute your entire life trajectory. You guys, take the time and dive. And it doesn't happen in one day, though. It doesn't happen in a week or a year. It's a process. Sometimes it's a lifelong process where you, these steps, right here, down here, you'll be working on for a long, long time. I'm going to share my story, and we can talk about that. Okay? All right. Step one. You got to know yourself, right? So if you know yourself, you also got to know there's some adversaries within yourself. Between the soul and the body, there's the mind and the intelligence. And that's where problems start. Okay? These adversaries inside of you hold you back from reaching your full potential, which is what? Your purpose, your calling, your dharma. Okay, you're with me so far? And the Bhagavad Gita, the reason it's so, such an incredible book, and it stood the test of time, and it's actually a culmination of all Vedas. I think Hindus may not agree on a lot, like the different paramparas and different ways people worship, but I think universally they'll agree that the Bhagavad Gita is a really good summary of our belief system, if you will, from a Hindu perspective, okay? And the Gita gives us a lot, but what it really gives us, the number one thing is it gives us the wisdom to fight these adversaries that we have within us and win. Okay? If you think you don't have any adversaries within you, I'm just going to tell you, you're mistaken. Okay? The question is, how do I win against that? How do I, first you have to defeat, so you're not like sabotaging your own success. So first you got to fix that before you can fix the externals, right? Before you can manipulate the world to see it your way, right? So first you got to work on yourself. And so do you know what these adversaries are? What are these adversaries? that are in all of us, and we fight every single day. Yes?
Would you consider like attachment, like material attachment? You might be attached to something, and that might prevent us from seeing the bigger picture.
Yeah, sure. So let's go, Girish. I'm going to go a little bit more extreme and say bad attachment. Okay? Like you're obsessed with it. Okay? I'm not going to just say because you like something, but I'm going to say because you are playing video games for 8 hours a day. That might be a little overdone. Yeah? Okay. All right, good. Yes?
I think another reason that can hold us back from reaching our full potential is self-doubt. Doubting
Yeah.
our true potential.
Dark night of the soul. Yes. Self-doubt. Absolutely. That is an adversary, right? Why do we have self-doubt?
As a kid, we never were told that we can't do it. But as we were growing up, there were a lot of people who stopped us by telling, oh, you cannot do this and you won't be able to do this. So this constant pressure from the society who's judging us and telling us what we can do and what we cannot do has actually put us into a belief system where we have also got into that doubting, self-doubting.
Love it. Thank you for sharing, Shreya. That's awesome. What if I hear her correctly, what she's saying is we have doubt and pressure on us because we're so result-oriented and the society's result-oriented, and if you don't meet certain standards that they may have for you, that they've instituted that you have for yourself, that's where that self-doubt starts to come in and that pressure, yeah? So we go result-oriented, right? Shreya's only good if she graduates here with honors and gets this corporate job that she advances and becomes a C-level executive within the next 15 years. Deal?
Yeah.
If you don't do that, Shreya is a disappointment in my family. We don't really like to talk about her. Fair? Okay. All right. So adversaries. Awesome. What else? Greed? Do we feel greed sometimes? Jealousy? Are we jealous?
It's like we're never satisfied.
Yeah, never satisfied.
You want more. So, okay, next time in C-level, and then I want to go higher.
Yeah, then I want to be a CEO. Then I want to have multiple companies that I can manage. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Greed, jealousy. What else? Anger. Lust. Yeah? On and on. Yes? Sometimes what?
Adversaries get calls also from the bad karma, from the previous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You carry over, just like who we were talking about, Girish, carrying over his present body that he has today is based on his desires to suffer and enjoy in this life. He needed this perfect body. Okay? This particular perfect body that's for him. Same way, to your point, we also have some, like for example, I might be more greedy than you are because in my past life I didn't have a lot financially speaking. I'm just making things up. So yes, from your past life you'll have certain attachments or certain adversaries that are stronger than others. Okay, so we got the kind of idea what kind of adversaries I'm talking about within, and does everybody agree that we've got to stop this? Or we're going to take one step forward and probably 2 steps back, or we may take 2 steps forward and only half a step back or 1 step back. But everybody agrees they're hindrances to our success, correct? Okay? Let's get back here. So why are you guys here? Because the Gita teaches you how to overcome these adversaries that A, are already existing, and then society also implements on you, Shreya. How are we going to get past this? The Gita is the book. That's the study. That's why we're here. Yeah? Okay. So, Bhagavad Gita 16 chapter, one should be very careful of these 3 enemies to human life, lust, anger, and greed. The more a person is freed from lust, anger, and greed, the more his existence becomes pure. The whole method is based on giving up lust, greed, and anger. We're going to get into it. Lust is not we're going to define lust in a little bit better terms, yeah? Come on. Okay. Good. Step one, we got it. So as part of we also got to carry around these bad things. Okay. Step two. What was step two? What are you really good at? Okay, so we're going to go here. This is part of step two. Okay, passion. We all want to have passion towards what we do, where we lose ourselves in our work because we like it so much, right? How many times do you guys do work? Is there a chair? You can just come over here. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they're getting them. Okay, cool. Okay, so passion, the way I describe in relation to this, what we're talking about, passion is something that, you can get lost in because you're so absorbed in it, right? Like, where's Herschel? Herschel's probably not here, but I know that he gets really excited about car batteries and electric vehicles. And, I tell him I'm thinking about buying an electric vehicle, and he's like, oh my God, what are you getting? And this and that and this. That's his passion, right? So we want to have that passion. So how do we get it? Okay, so step two is developed when you do something you are really good at. Aligning your goals with so we talked about that, right? So we've got to figure out what we're good at. Okay? Instead of trying to figure out, like your auntie picked a career for you as a C-level executive 15 years from now, right? Okay? I'm just joking, but it's true. People just randomly, there's a story. When I was preparing for this, there's a story about these two, a husband and a wife, arguing. And so they went to a mediator, and the mediator's like, okay, I give up, you guys. I can't help you guys. And they end up in court, okay, in front of a judge. What is your problem? Why are you guys arguing about it? It's like, listen, I want our son to be a doctor, the husband says. The wife says, I want him to be an engineer. Or an accountant. Let's just pick up everything. And the judge goes, you guys are silly. Why don't you just ask your son what he wants to be? And then they go, oh, because he's not born yet. Okay? They're kind of, but it's true. We as parents, Ross and our parents, you go through these like natural things. Oh, I want my baby Rahul to be this. It's going to make me so proud when he's that, and I can go to dinner parties and say he's the best ever, right? Okay. We got to stop that. Okay? We got to stop letting aunties pick our career path. Okay? We've got to figure out what we're really good at. Okay? And then it's just a matter of adapting to a certain spot. That's all that is. I'll give you that passion where you're absorbed like Herschel is when it comes to electric car vehicles. Okay? What are you good at? Are you analytical? Okay, so if you're analytical and you decide that you're going to major in art, I don't know if that's going to work out for you. You see that most of you guys gone through this process, whether consciously or subconsciously, because you're sitting in master's programs. And I'm pretty sure that you're aligning your skills with the particular major that you guys have, right? Okay. So does that make sense to everybody? Why it's more important to align your skill set to a profession than a profession like, oh, I want to be this.
To understand what you really are good at, one needs to be very honest with themselves. One needs to understand the true sense of themselves in such a way that they actually know what are their flaws, they know the flaws they can improve on, and they also know the flaws which they cannot improve on, and they just need to accept it the way it is and go ahead with it.
That's a very good point.
Example, many people have a problem with maybe the way they look.
Yeah.
That's the flaw they look at.
Yeah.
That cannot be improved on. I mean, it might be given or inherited. But what they can work on is a flaw, maybe a character or a behavioral flaw which they can actually work on, and they can accept that. The minute they accept that, that is when they will know what they are truly good in.
Beautiful point. We've got an exercise at the end of the presentation. We're going to do just that. So you're right there. You're spot on today. No, awesome. Okay, yes.
So about like thinking and then acting, what if you're just lost in thinking and you fail to act?
Well, you got to act, right, eventually.
Yeah.
So it's just as worse. It's a great point. It's just as bad as acting without thinking.
Yeah.
Okay? So you've got to do both. You got to think to really understand who I am, so then you can align yourself with the person that you are, right? A spirit soul in a particular body, right? You can't, if you start acting, you're going to find out, you're going to wake up and when you're 50 years old, like me, and go, oh my God, I thought I was doing what makes me happy, but it's not as satisfying as what I thought when I was 22, right? So that's what happens if you act without thinking.
So how does one figure out the correct timing, or the when it's like, oh, I should act right now, or if they get in a spiral of self-doubt, or should I be doing this? Is it worth it?
Okay, so first, when you really figure out what your skills are, and I'm going to get into that. Okay, so I'm going to tell you the story. Okay, so me, I went to college, majored in finance, ended up in sales. Hated sales. I was like, oh my God, I'm confused. Maybe I should be doing something else. So I'm 25 years old out now. Oh, I hate sales. What can I do? Oh, maybe I'll be a pilot. Okay, let me take some pilot lessons. Still doing sales. Oh, maybe I should really think about going to getting my master's and rekindle that, be a stock analyst in finance. Still doing sales. Now I'm 30. Now I've got 2 kids. Okay, there are 3 kids now. I hate sales. I'm 35. Okay, then I come and go, I'm kind of good at sales. I'm able to provide for my family. Okay, maybe this is right for me. So now how do I align this so I start to become passionate about what I'm doing? Oh, sales management actually is really what gets me excited. Oh, that's just a little tweak within my career. Okay? So my bigger point is it's a process. Long as what you're really good at, you match it up with the career you're doing, you're going to find a specific department, or, you know, as you move up, you'll refine that. Okay? So you're going to think of it as taking small actions that leads to the big goal, instead of major actions and that you can't make it because you don't have enough information. Does that make sense? That's what I would say to you. Okay? Anybody else? Yes.
I want this. In case of children, they're ignorant about what they are good at and what they are not.
Yeah.
Now there are 2 children and both of them have their own parents. And one parent decides to send their children to a better school with different aspirations in their mind. The other parent couldn't. So within both of these parents, who has overcome the adversity?
Okay, good. Good question. Okay, so when you become a parent, the goal is to let your children, through schooling, find out what they're really good at. Not they have to get the best grade in the school that they got into, which is, I know, is the prevailing mindset, especially in India, right? But if you talk about holistic parenting, especially like Western parenting, people who do it really, really well, their whole objective is to take their children and let them figure out what they're really good at. They'll put them in soccer, and then ballet, and then they're this, and then that, and that. Until they narrow it down, I'm like, okay, I don't like soccer, I'm not really good at ballet, I love science, because I'm in this science fair that I'm in. Okay, so So what you're basically doing, Ross and I did it, went through it. Okay, all right. Oh well, we're gonna have to sell this violin that we bought because that's not gonna work. He's not gonna stick to that. And so you go through that process. So I'm gonna. I found the way now. At that early of an age, you just don't. That's just not it. It's a process. How your skill set that you guys develop when you were 20, 21 maybe is when you really figured out, okay, this is what I'm really good at. Not at 10, 12, 13 years old. Yeah? Did I answer your question? Okay. Yes?
So in today's world, there are a lot of options available. So how do you figure out what your passion really is? Because there are multiple things you can be good at.
Yes?
So
Try them all.
how do you narrow it down?
So depending on what your skill set is, right? So it's also always learning about like what you're good at. So if you're good at it, even if it's not the one, say you're good at something else too, right? So like say I'm good at sales, but I'm really good at poetry as well. Okay, which I'm not. Okay, but say I'm really good at poetry. It would be foolhardy for me, Rasa would probably divorce me anyway, if I quit my job today and started to become a professional poet. That doesn't make any sense. But if I really believe in my heart of hearts that I can be a professional poet, why don't I devote my personal time to writing poetry and take it step by step until I can make that transition? I can go to Rasa and say, hey, you know what? I think I can do this. Now I'm prepared.
Denied.
Does that make sense? Okay, so you may have multiple things you're good at, but you'll find what's practical sometimes. Like I had to do sales because I had to provide a living. So don't be too altruistic in this. Is the main point of my whole thing, my talk today. If I don't find my passion right now, I'm not going to be good. I'm not going to live a fulfilled life, which I'm going to tell you is absolutely not the right thinking. You will live a fulfilled life. It's a process, not something you got to make a decision when you're 26 years old. Okay? You have to start the foundation in early childhood to find out what you're good at and continue to build on that. Hyper-focused on the fact that I've got to find it right now. It's a life journey. So I'm going to continue my life journey so you guys know. Okay? So we're here. I've turned me being good at sales into a profession, into a passion that I really enjoy. Okay? And sales management. I've been managing for a long, long time. And so I have the skill set to do that. Okay? It just took me a long time to figure out that that's what I want. That's my niche, if you will. Cool? You with me so far? I know, like, it's hard because right now it's theory for you guys, right? It's theory for you guys from a standpoint of you're in school right now, actually refining your skill set, right? So you're almost there. You're refining your skill set. Don't get too caught up in what job you're going to end up getting. Okay? As long as it matches the skill set, you're good. Because you'll find, remember, you have your individual bodies, your individual needs, and you will find it. And Krishna has a plan for you. Okay? If you go through this process, the process of the Gita, helping you overcome your adversaries, you will gain what you're looking for. So we're doing a class yesterday, Rasa, you weren't there, and one of the quotes really struck us when we were discussing it. And it was talking about, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. Let me come back to that. Okay, so we're good here. Passion meets skill set. All right, tell me this. What are you really good at, Girish?
I guess like just analyzing the situation and finding out how to
Boring.
Okay, fine.
Boring. Okay. Music. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. Okay. Music.
Yeah.
Right? So when you play music, you want to play because you're good at it. You want to show off, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yes. What are you not good at?
Science.
Science. So if you had to tag along one of your friends that's really good at science and you have to sit in the lab all day long, that is something you're not interested in. So it intuitively makes sense. We all like to do what we're good at. It's really that simple. Just figure out what you're good at, and that's more likely it's going to be your passion. Okay? Because I love to be good at whatever I do. If I'm good at it, I'm going to do it again. If I'm bad at it, I'm not going to do it. Fair? That's the biggest takeaway from there. Okay, adversary. Okay, we're going backwards. Step 3. I'm just going to define success for a second here, okay? Krishna says success in life is not to be the best, but rather to try our best. Fully bought in or not? It's okay if you're not fully bought in on that, because the world has conditioned to say, be the best. You have to be the best. Right? Especially Indian parents, man. Oh my God. they will like beat you down, right? With that mantra. Be the best. Is that really right for us? Why not?
It's building up pressure.
Your auntie.
Everyone will. You just made it.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know which one.
Yeah, it builds that pressure. It builds, we become results oriented. Okay? To be the best, that means you have to have some sort of an outcome, right? That's very satisfactory or it's really good, right? So we become result oriented. So what Krishna is saying here in the Bhagavad Gita, instead of being result oriented, just be process oriented. Okay, there's some of you guys that may be project managers and things like that here, yeah? Process oriented. Okay? If you're an athlete, if you talk to any like a professional athlete, what they're going to tell you is, hey, I'm just going to focus on my training. I'm just going to go in there. I mean, it sounds so boring. Why? Because they're process oriented. If they focus on the result, they'll miss the boat because they're not really focused on being prepared for that task, right? Doesn't that make sense? To be process oriented instead of result oriented? Because thinking about being the result, like being that person, doesn't help you become that person.
But I think the reason why most of them are result oriented is because they want it fast. They want it quick. They don't want to live in that process because the process can be harder than thinking about the result.
Okay, very interesting thought. What's that? That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Because we're all conditioned to be result oriented here. Because we identify with what? We don't know who we are. We think we're the body. I want the result right now before I die. Oh my God. Right? Before I get too old. Wait a minute, I got to get this here because then I'll be too old to even enjoy it. So let me get this now. Right? So think about that. The result orientation also comes with our identification as a body and not the soul. Is this starting to make sense, like the big picture a little bit? So if we know who we are, that we're a soul within a body, then we try to align our goals, our passions, our life calling to both. Okay, we got to get away from this result-oriented junk. We got to get away from that I need my calling right now. You have multiple talents, so
service and not be attached to the result, which is another way of saying don't be focused on success as a long-term goal, because you can't, at the end of the day, you can't control if you're going to be successful or not. But you can control that you try your best, that you're giving it 100%, and that you're doing everything you can.
It's a really good point. So her point is really, is we don't know if we're gonna be successful or not. So why are we focusing on that? Because that's a really crummy way to live, to think that if I work, if you worked really hard towards something and you didn't get the desired result that you were looking for, was that not successful? I think that's where you want to know. Is that not successful? Well, not necessarily. If you gain the wisdom all the way along, even if you didn't get the result that you were looking for, but now you were prepared, who knows where you're going to be able to use that knowledge to apply somewhere else, right? So process-driven, that's what Krishna, exactly what Krishna is saying is, if you go ahead and do your duty and don't worry about what's going to happen, offer the results to me, you're going to live a very peaceful life and fulfilling life. Yeah? Good?
Another question. A follow-up question I have.
Huh?
A follow-up question I have with respect to the last question. So, if suppose I use ChatGPT for my class assignment.
Yeah.
So, in terms of my professor, what is success? And in terms of me, what is success?
Okay, so I'm not sure, what you're basically asking me is if you cut corners, is that successful or not successful? Okay. It all depends. You'll get the results you're looking for? Yes, so it's successful. You'll rob yourself of the process because you won't really understand it. You fail. So it's no different than using so I'm going to age myself. We're not allowed to use calculator in math tests when we were young. I bring a calculator. I cheat. I get a good grade. Yay, got a great A on a test. Success. Final comes, I can't bring the calculator because I tried and I couldn't do it. Now I don't know how to do the problem. Fail. Answer your question?
Is failing in a short-term period can be considered as a success in a long-term period?
Depending. Not in your scenario. Okay? Not in your scenario, but I'll tell you some way. I tried out for a baseball team when I was in 6th grade. Really wanted it, didn't make it. Gave me motivation to work hard for after I got over the crying and all that stuff. Worked really hard, and then I made my travel team the next year. So you tell me if my failure turned into success. Yeah?
But we have deadlines in our assignment.
Okay, I'm done.
Why I'm using ChatGPT in the first place?
Yeah, okay. So, but we got the concept, right? So I want to share this story. So definition success, we kind of defined it. And there's another reason we shouldn't be result-oriented, and we should stick to our capabilities as well, right? So success is not aligning the results, but the efforts being put in, okay. So it is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faulty, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in this course of performing one's own duties, better engaging in others' duties to follow another part is dangerous. So what this is basically saying is this. Do what you're good at. Okay? That's what Krishna is saying here. If you try to be a doctor and because you want to please your parents, you may become a doctor. I'm not saying you can't become a doctor. But will you be fulfilled? Will you live your dharma? Will you have a purpose and passion-filled life? Okay? That's what Krishna is saying. Do what you're supposed to do. Okay? That's what we're talking about here today, right? Okay. So I want to share a story about Ram. Ram and the squirrel. Anybody know this story? Okay, let me just, it's 2 seconds. So Hanuman and his army of monkeys were going to help Ram get Sita, right? We all know this story in the Ramayana? Okay. So they start putting boulders in the ocean between India and Sri Lanka, right? And so these big monkeys are coming in, huge boulders, sides of mountains, putting them in the ocean, try to build that bridge so they can get there, right? And you got this squirrel. he'll throw a little pebble in. There's recounts of the stories, he was throwing pebbles in the ocean. Or somebody says, oh no, he was just kind of smoothing out the path. Or as other people said, the squirrel actually jumps into the water, into the ocean, jumps back out and shakes all the water off, and he says, well, I'm getting some of the water out of the ocean so it's easier for us to get there. The monkeys are laughing at this guy. Like, look at this guy, man, this is useless, worthless. What was Ram's reaction to the squirrel? Anybody know? Ram's reaction was, this is incredible, the squirrel is doing everything in his capabilities to help the dharmic process. Okay? He's serving in his capacity and his capabilities, yeah? I'm sorry, go on. No, what were you going to say? To serve. Right? In order to serve the Lord, he's doing everything he has. And what he has, what his past karma gave him, with this body, is a squirrel's body. Okay? So, should the squirrel try to act like Hanuman and the monkeys and try to lift boulders? How successful will he be? Not much, huh? But he's so determined to serve the Lord that he's doing whatever in his capacity to do so. Isn't that a beautiful story? So again, that reinforces to stick with our capabilities. Yeah? That makes sense? Okay. Huh?
And passion.
And passion. Dharma. I'm glad you guys got a lot of questions, because this is a good one. This is what makes classes fun, because you should question me. All right, so here we go. Dharma. There's multiple definitions, right? And so we want to get to the root cause of it. What is scripturally relevant? And what is going to actually get us that purpose that's going to fulfill us? So when you guys are older and retired, you're going to be like, you know what? I've lived my life. I'm proud of the way I lived my life because I lived it according to who I am. And I serve my purpose, because the purpose of a soul is we serve, right? We'll get into that later. So let's go down. Okay. Defined as applying your purposeful life in the service of other. Okay, so now let's fast forward. Now you got to think, project. I'm going to use myself as an example. Sales, hated it, eventually learned to like it, adapted it, tweaked it, became my passion, correct? To your question. I'm still trying to figure out my dharma. Why? Applying your purposeful life in the service of others. So how do I use my art of persuasion, which is sales, to serve other people? Anybody have an idea how I can do that in God's service? You're doing it right now. Okay? When did I start doing this? Just a few years ago. Right? So it's a process. So now, go back to my 20-year-old self or 25-year-old self. If you ask me that my dharma is going to be sharing bhakti with people, with passion, to try to persuade them to not go with the thinking of the material world and only concentrate on the body, but have a more balanced and a holistic viewpoint of their life? No way. I'm not signing up for that. No way I'm signing up for that. Because my mind was conditioned by everything around me, including my body and my karma, to say, no, I want money, I want power, I want all these things. That's what I was attracted to, rightfully so, because that's all I was exposed to. Now, the question should be is this fulfilling for me? Right? So when you become my age and you kind of went through some of these things, yeah, you're darn right this is fulfilling. Right? So what my idea, result-oriented and process-oriented, has led me to where I could try to apply my passion, what I'm good at, and to serve others, and that's Dharma. That's Dharma. Not an engineer, not a CEO, not anything else. That's not Dharma. Dharma is aligning that skill set to serve other people or serve God or serve other people. Because when you serve other people, you're literally serving God because we're part and parcels. Yeah? Okay, Dharma also, this is really cool because when I was doing this, so Dharma also can be defined as performing the right action which inherently make you realize your full potential. What the heck does that mean? Anybody want to take a guess? It's powerful.
Doing your duty.
Yes. Doing your service, doing your sadhana. Because if you define yourself as a spirit, soul, and a material body, it's doing all the things that support it. It's the right actions that you're taking. If you neglect a portion of it, so let's just take it this way. Let's say you neglect the material piece of it, and you're only supporting your spirit soul. Unless you become a renunciate, it's going to be pretty hard for you to make it in this world, or it would be so hard for you to actually even do what you want, which is to really, be spiritual, because you don't have the capacity. You don't have a place to live. The other way is you're materially successful, but you're spiritually bankrupt. Yeah? So you have to take the right actions through sadhana. So this is why we're here. So eventually, like Rahul was part of these type of classes, Kartik and Mahindri were part of these classes, right, from IIT, right? And so what we're hoping to be able to do is start to think differently about how we define success. Have I changed anything about, before you guys came to your school here, and how you define success, meaning materially speaking? I'm not saying don't think that way. I'm just saying think of it also from a spirit perspective. Because you're a spirit soul in a human body. So combine those two, because you don't want to wake up when you're 50 and be unfulfilled. So do exactly what you're going to do. Work hard. It's actually Krishna implores you to work hard. Right? Do the best. You give your best effort. Okay? So you'll make right decisions if you do the steps that are necessary, and that helps to define your dharma. Okay, so here we go. It is important to align your life's goals with your capability. We already talked about that. Okay, yoga, the spiritual practice equals skill and action which naturally lead to dharma. This is what I was talking about. Okay, if you take your spiritual practice, and that equals the skill and action, you're taking your skills, right? And then you will realize your dharma. But if you don't have your spiritual practice, you won't find your dharma. Yeah? Let's look at Gandhi just for a real quick second. Do you think he fulfilled his dharma? What was his dharma? He was an attorney, right? Do you remember?
Yes.
So he was an attorney. But how did he fulfill his dharma, and when? How old was he? He was pretty advanced age, right? When he was able to take the skills and apply it for a political movement. Yeah? And he knew exactly, he had a spiritual practice. He was a very spiritual person. And he applied the Bhagavad Gita principles to live out his dharma. Okay, we're 10 minutes past, but what do you guys think? Any questions? Oh, we have this exercise. Darn it. You guys are familiar with 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey? Yeah? Right? So my point was here, I was going to have you guys do an exercise, but I'll just tell you if that's okay, because it's limited in time. So out of these 2 circles, should we be focusing on circle of influence or circle of concerns? First, let's start with that question. So circle of influence is what we can directly change and influence. Circle of concern is like politics, sports teams, things that we're mindful of, but we can't necessarily change anything there. This is who we hang out with, you know, how hard we're going to study for our tests, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So the purpose of this is the more we focus on the circle of influence and less on the circle of concern, the more fulfilled our lives are going to be. Because what's going to happen is, if you start focusing here, this circle, this gap here is going to get larger. Okay? And now you're result oriented. You can't control those events. And it's going to build frustration. Okay? Resentment. The adversaries will blossom. Right? Jealousy. Okay? So if we focus on the things that we can influence, our material practice, meaning studying for tests, our spiritual practice, to be determined. Right? If you focus on those types of things, who are we going to associate with? Friday night, 8 o'clock, you guys are in this room. What the heck is wrong with you guys, right? That makes a difference, doesn't it? Because you could be somewhere else. Focus on what you can influence, and you will have a much more fulfilling life. I'm not saying don't pay attention to your favorite sport team or something like that. I'm the last guy to give that advice, right? I'm not saying, but Rasa will tell you, when we first got married, I was like, it's Sunday, it's football, leave me alone. I'm going to be here from 11 a.m. till probably 10 p.m. Now it's turned into, hey, did I record the Bears game? I'll check it out when I get a chance today. Okay? I'm still interested. Deeply conditioned. Because I have his body. Because my body is, I have my own karma I got to deal with. But the point is, so I don't get over-concerned or over-attached to things. Okay? Any questions on this? If you guys just Google this up, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Effective People in the circle, this exercise. Circle, what is it called? Circle of influence or something like that? I forget.
Circle of influence and circle of concern.
So, okay. So just Google that up. It's a really nice read, and it really helps you define it. There's an exercise I was going to have you guys do, but that's okay. So is there any questions before we move to Prasadam? Anything controversial I said?
I have a question.
Yes.
So when you were talking about adversities in the first right? So you said, lust and go ahead and greed. So, what do you think? Should we not have those qualities? What I think is, without having those, we become a robot, right? We all need that because there's a reason why we're born or we're inbuilt with those qualities. So what I think is, how we modulate it, how we use them in the real life is what matters the most. So what are your thoughts?
It's a beautiful perspective. So we have to be very careful, because I made a promise to you guys last week that we're going to try to give you the truth based off of scriptures, right? So and I use Bhavesh as an example of a really smart guy, and you're a very smart lady. And so it's easy for us to take a concept and extrapolate it and put our own speculation into it. So you're not wrong, okay? What I would say is the scriptures tell us a little something different. That these qualities do not help us. Jealousy, lust, greed, anger only hinder us for fulfilling our dharma. Okay? Our goal of life is to practice our spiritual, our sadhana, so we can minimize their effects. Okay. Now, you brought up a really good point. So now that I've totally said no, now I'm going to tell you something that you're right on. Anger, used in the proper way, can be really good. I'll give you an example. If somebody is picking on my friend friend Karthik. He's very feeble. He's, you know, can't hold up his own, yeah, right, in a fight. He's a good guy. He's a devotee of the Lord, and they're picking on him because he's a devotee. They're like, hey, listen, man, why are you like all in this? You know, come on, let's. I'm going to get angry at that guy because Karthik is a friend of mine. That anger is absolutely justified. Who's the perfect example of that? Using anger in the right way. Krishna, Hanumanji, right? Yeah, but Krishna, there's multiple examples. I was thinking of Hanumanji, right? With Ravan. So you're right. But you have to know which way are you using that. Are you using it in the service of Krishna? Or you know, or is it an adversary that's peeking its head in your daily life? It's an ego-based. Thank you. So it's either ego or it's for the service of others. What are you using it for? Does that answer your question? Okay, totally. Okay, good. All right. Thanks. I'm glad I'm able to answer your question because I can't answer his back. Okay. Anybody else? I hope it was.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, just like following up on this free will and all. So now I have, let us say, 5 job offers at the end of my master. Just for example.
Yeah.
Okay, now market is really dull. Okay.
You have 5 job offers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, hypothetically, I have 5 job offers, and
You don't have to be. You don't have to be humble in front of us. It's okay if you got 5 job offers. Okay, go on.
so now I finally get into one. Okay, so the final job that I got, is it the one I got through destiny, or is it through my free will? That's
So you have
the
5
kind of
job
question
offers.
I think one of our friends asked here, right? If I'm- Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it have I got it through destiny or is it through free will?
Okay, you have 5 job offers. You end up picking one, right? And you took that. And what you're saying is, was it always my destiny to have that, or was it really my free will that really got it?
Yes.
My answer to that is,
Well, I'll give my example. I had offer in one in Minnesota, one here, and one in New York. So I came to Chicago.
yeah.
So coming to Chicago, was it destined? Was I destined to come to Chicago? I mean that's I can give more.
No, it's great. I've got a smart aleck answer to that, which is like, who cares? Like, honestly, are we over-analyzing things sometimes? Like, does it really matter if it was, okay, so if it was destiny, I say, oh, it was destiny, for sure, 100%. Or if I say it's free will, does it really matter at the end of the day? My answer really is, the complexities of long as our intentions are based on fundamentals of what Krishna wants us to, how he wants us to present our life, which is have a holistic view of our spirit, soul, and just remember this: we are a spiritual being in having a material experience instead of a material being having a spiritual experience. Okay, does that make sense? So long as we're following that creed of being a spiritualist and doing those things right, things will happen in our lives, okay, just as they're supposed to happen, and you making those decisions. Say you're look, let me ask you this question. Say you're going to Minnesota. Okay, everybody know Minnesota's up north. Okay, you're going on whatever highway. Then you're like, oh my God, which way do I mean, I can either go this way or that way. Well, what if they both lead to Minnesota? Does it matter which one you choose? You may get a different experience here or a different experience here, right? So, my understanding of free will as it relates to destiny is we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we react to those situations. And how we react to them, if it's dharmic, if it's based on scripture, then we fulfill our destiny. If we don't base it off of scripture, I'm not sure we're fulfilling our destiny. That would be my answer. Do you have another more insight?
It's the result, we can't control the result, that's the destiny.
Yeah.
Results and destination.
The I don't know. Go ahead. You explain it.
I was just gonna say, the result is your destiny, so your karma was to get that job. You can't control that, but what you can control, like you were saying, is your free will is what you did to get that job.
You prepared for it.
So basically, you picked that job for a reason. It was your karma to pick that job. It's what was supposed to happen. But you, and like he said, your mind frame, and the decisions you made to get there, the work you did, all these free will decisions that you made along the way, those were your own free will, but the end result is not yours.
I'm going to give a very good example. You guys are all in school. If you graduate, is it destiny or is it hard work? Right, it's both. You have to put it, you choosing this path has a destiny type of feel to it, but you still got to do the work in order to fulfill your destiny, guys.
When we land up in destiny, we're going to use our free will.
What's that?
Like the place in which the destiny keeps us, we're going to use our free will over there.
Place where, so,
No, like how things are destined for us, destiny is going to keep us there. Like, destiny is going to arrange things for us.
sure,
And that is where we're going to use our free will.
Exactly.
Right.
so destiny brought you here,
Yeah.
but you have to study for your tests,
Yes.
Girish, or you're not going to graduate. I'm sorry. Okay, that's it. That's a perfect way to understand
So
it.
we can probably summarize like this: our present is the destiny, and future is destined by what we make out of it, right?
Yeah, our free will. Okay, everybody good? Hopefully I didn't confuse you, and hopefully this will be just a tiny little step in order for you to carve out your
What they have summarized.
dharmic, your passion. Yeah? All right, you guys, now it's time for prasadam, right?
Yeah, based on
What's that? Yeah, too late. Yeah? So should we have, we'll do a 3-minute kirtan. 3 minute. Okay? 3-minute kirtan, and then we'll have dinner. Yeah? All right, thank you guys. Krishna Hare